at is the distance from the seed to the outer edge, and then the health of the seed. And this date is growing leaps and bounds every day. And it's tender.
So you're checking out the seed right now?
I'm checking the seed because it's in development. Look at there. It's still soft. It's going to be hard as a rock after a while.
Yeah.
But right now, it's very tender and it's very large. This is on its way to being, and it's a very big date. Wow. High quality. Lots of room. Proteins building flesh. On dates, or actually any plant, protein builds muscle, and in plants, nitrogen builds the protein, and all of this is the protein, the meat. Protein is meat.
Yeah.
That's why people eat meat, so they can get protein. All this is the protein of the plant.
Introduce yourself.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Cobb. I call myself the Real Sam Cobb. Real because I am a real person. I do not fake anything. I've been a student of agriculture the entirety of my life. I'm 61 years old, and my first inkling of being interested in agriculture was when I was 3 years old. I saw a tractor passing by my parents' house, and all I wanted to do was be where that tractor was headed. And my life has been on that trajectory ever since. By the time I was 4 years old, I was across the street on that tractor, and I rode the fender of a tractor for the next 8 or 10 years. And on the fender of that tractor is where I learned how to farm and what farming is. And then eventually I asked the farmer who owned the tractor, I said, how do I become a farmer? And he said, Sam, when you get to high school, join the Future Farmers of America. And that's what I did. I joined the Future Farmers of America, studied agriculture, got proficient at what I was doing so well that my advisor advised me to apply for a scholarship through Bank of America. They have a Bank of America Achievement Award. I applied for, received it, went on through college. Bank of America paid my way through college if I would get a degree in agricultural education, which I did not want to do. However, high school advisors are there for a reason. My advisor advised me, he says, Sam, take their money, go to college, get the degree, and go do what you want to do with your life. I was like, oh, okay. So I did that, and all of that, I went on, studied agriculture, and started farming immediately in 1982. By 1987, my wife and I were broke. I floundered around for a couple of years, and then I went to work for the United States Department of Agriculture, the Natural Resources Conservation Service, where I worked for the next 30 years. And then I came somewhere in that journey, I started growing dates. I planted dates, and I developed a plan that said, if we get this done right now, by the time we retire in 15 years, I was speaking to my wife, I say, we would be in business. The dates will be in production, and we can start producing dates. Well, I retired about 4 years ago. Welcome to Sam Cobb Farms. Sam Cobb Farms is a 115 acre date farming operation. We have operations, our home ranch is 100 miles to the east of here in the Palm Springs area, Desert Hot Springs. Today we're sitting in our Blythe location. We have 110 acres in one spot here in the desert. God-forsaken land. People thought it was God-forsaken land that no one wanted anything to do with. But because I'm a student of agriculture. My background training is agronomy. I came here, studied the soil, did all kind of tests, and said, I think dates will grow here. We did a test plot of about 200 trees here, planted them, and they have never stopped growing since the day we planted them. And we said, this is good property. And we started buying, and then we bought another piece next to it, and then another piece next to it, and now it all equals to 110 acres. We grow 7 different varieties of dates: Medjool, Barhi, Black Gold, Safari, Zahidi, Candy, and Empress. Black Gold is our own variety, developed right here at Sam Cobb Farms by Sam Cobb himself. That's me. We found that tree on the side of the road. Dates are funny.
Wait, you found what tree on the side of the road?
We found Black Gold on the side of the road. Dates are funny. If you eat a date and you plant the seed from any date that you eat, if you eat the date, plant the seed. If a tree comes up from seed, whoosh, you're off to a new variety of fruit, something that no one has ever seen before. So never plant a date orchard from seed. You always want to plant a date orchard from offshoots. You can pick up from the camera around, you'll see little green shoots growing from the sides of the trees. Offshoots are 100% carbon copy clones of whatever tree they came from. So we found Black Gold on the side of the road. It had come up from a seed. So when we were planting our farm in Desert Hot Springs, we were trying to find trees from wherever, because initially we planted all of the trees to be landscape trees. All we wanted was a tree that we could sell in about 15 years to people who wanted to add them to their property or in a building, a parking lot, or wherever. So we didn't care what the tree was. We just took the shoots and we brought it home and planted it. But an amazing thing happened. About 3 or 4 or 5 years into the tree growing, it bloomed. And when it bloomed, all the animals everywhere came and attacked that fruit, and they devoured it. And I said, what is going on with that tree? Everything is interested in that tree. So I finally moseyed my way over to that tree, take a sampling of the fruit, and oh my goodness, I say, the world needs to know about this date. And I can remember talking to a friend of mine. He says, never, ever waste your time with a seedling, because all it'll be is a waste of time. But that was my friend. I had a college professor that I can remember asking him, where do new varieties of fruit come from? And he said, Sam, believe it or not, the majority of new fruit that's on the market today, because this is 30, 40 years ago, is discovered in nature. Now, a lot of it's made in the laboratory. You know, people are doing things around this and that. But back then, they were just discovered in nature. So keep your eyes open. You never know when you're going to discover something. And so we kept our eyes open. I knew when I tasted that date, I said, I'm onto something here. So we had a trademark and patented. Black Gold is only available at Sam Cobb Farms, developed by Mr. Cobb himself. Yes.
Can you speak more to that story of finding the date tree? Like, what led you to find it on the side of the road?
What led me to find Black Gold on the side of the road? As I mentioned, when we were planting the orchard at Sky Valley, we planted 100 Medjool date palms, but we had room for other dates. So I started finding trees on the side of the road. Any tree that had shoots on the side of it, we went in there, chopped them off, took them back home and planted them. And among all of those shoots that we chopped off from those volunteer trees, Black Gold was among them. And when we planted it, like I say, 4 years later, it voluntarily bloomed. And when it bloomed, all the animals went after it and they liked it. So I went to the tree, tasted it. I said, these are some smart animals. And so the next year, it bloomed again. This time we added some pollen. We put a white bag to keep the birds and the insects off of it. Carried the crop through the full season. In the fall of the year, we opened up the bag and out came black gold, just like the Beverly Hillbillies. I'll tell you, this date is so good. It has 2 textures and 3 flavors. The first texture can be tough, sometimes it's smooth. If you get both textures, the first texture is kind of chewy, but then it mellows out and you begin to taste caramel, a hint of chocolate. And then there's a mystery flavor that no one can quite put their finger on. Someone will say, oh, it tastes like molasses. No, I taste a hint of coffee. Coffee? No, a hint of vanilla. Ooh, vanilla. Caramel, strong caramel. Cherry, burgundy, sarsaparilla, sassy. That was one lady said, this date just tastes sassy. I said, that's a good one. I like it. So it's all over the place. And so you never quite understand what black gold tastes like, and you're about to describe it, and then it's gone. So you have to pick up another one. Sorry, but I'm going to get it figured out this time. And you have another one. And then you get lost in its goodness. Oh, you declare that you're going to describe it, but before you can get to that third flavor, it's gone again. So you say, you try another one. And next thing you know, the package is gone. That's how good black gold dates are.
All right. So when I say watermelon, what comes to your mind?
Summertime. Summertime goodness. My family. I love watermelon. I wish I could grow them, but I'm busy growing dates. I used to grow watermelons. My father grew watermelons. My grandfather grew watermelons. But now, all I do is eat them. I don't grow them. I know how to pick them. I know a good watermelon when I see them. And I love going into the grocery store, patting on a watermelon. And, well, stereotypically, black people love watermelons. So obviously, we must know how to pick them. So people start gathering around me and say, hey, how do you know a good watermelon when you see one? How do you know? What are you listening for? And then I say, well, this time of year, what's the date? Oh, this is Father's Day coming up this weekend in California. In Southern California, at Father's Day, you get some really good watermelons. So you look for this. You look for the yellow spot. You look for some sugar marks. You look for the stretch marks on the melon. Is it light? Is it dark? And I'm sure when you get down south to the real watermelon growers, you can be able to get some real answers on this. But watermelons, I love watermelons. My dad was a champion watermelon grower. He's a champion. He was the best in his area. My dad, he was in Mississippi. I remember taking a trip to Mississippi to visit him in 1977. I was about 15 years old. And the watermelons were ready. And we were down, eating. No, it was harvest time. We were picking the melons, and I was carrying melons, one melon at a time, out in front of me. I was a teenager. I said, these things are heavy. I'm going to carry one at a time, kind of like a lifting thing. And he says, look at the way you carry that watermelon. But to him, it looked like I was a sissy. My brother, he had a melon on each arm, but I wasn't quite that strong. But I was carrying this melon, but I was strengthening my biceps, like lifting weights. So, but he would grow watermelons. He grew watermelons so good. He knew how to grow melons. And when you get down south, like I said, I don't grow melons anymore, so I don't know all the idiosyncrasies of growing melons. But if I were growing melons, I would be one of the best watermelon growers there is. But I'm growing dates, so I'm one of the best date growers there are. But my dad, he would grow melons. He'd put cottonseed meal around them, I said, why cottonseed meal? That makes them sweet. But after I got to college, and studied science and all that stuff, I figured out what's in cottonseed meal. Found out cottonseed meal is loaded with potassium. Potassium is what helps watermelons get sweet. How about that? And there's a few other things. I think it has, I'm not sure, magnesium and things like that. That's in cottonseed meal. But see, the old timers, they just knew if you put cottonseed meal, the melons get sweet. But there's something in the cottonseed meal, and it's loaded with potassium and magnesium. I'm not sure about the magnesium, but I know there's potassium and some other stuff. You can get it, take it to the laboratory, and you'll get the true reading. The dad would grow watermelons, and we would load them on the truck. It'd go through the community. Oh, everyone would love to see my dad coming with a truckload of watermelons, and he would go through, and he'd stop, and I can remember stories. Hey, Dad. He'd stop there and say, hey, Mr. Cobb, how you doing? Hey, so good to see you. And he's talking, let me get one of those watermelons. He'd get a bottle and they'd pay, and someone else would come up and they'd just talk. And they'd talk and they'd say, well, go up there and get yourself a watermelon. He said, oh, Mr. Cobb, I don't have any money today. I don't get paid to the 1st or the whatever, the 10th or whatever. And my dad was teaching me a lesson. I didn't realize it. Well, I picked up on it later. My dad said, I didn't say anything about money. Go on up there and get your watermelon. I'll be back in town in a couple of weeks. We'll square up then. I said, well, you sure? They're my melons. If anyone can be sure, it's me. Get a melon. So they happily get a melon. And they go away. And then on the way home, my dad would say, now, Sam, I gave those people those melons because I have to unload these melons. I can't be taking any melons back to the farm, else we're just going to give them to the cows, the goats, and the hogs. But if I tell people you can have a melon and I'll square up with you in a week or two, I might get some money. I might get some money. They might pay me. But if I take them home, I'm definitely getting nothing. So he was just filling up the pipeline and doing goodwill in the community and maybe getting paid. And after a while, next thing you know, everybody owes him a little something. And, if people owe you too much, they start ducking and dodging, and then you don't have to see them anymore. So,
what's your favorite lesson that you learned from your dad?
That one right there, marketing, how to market melons. Marketing the stuff that you grow. I learned how to smile, how to engage with the public. My dad, he became a different person when he was selling melons. I said, gee, where did this guy come from? He put on a salesmanship. Man, he's smiling at everybody. I think, man, he's kind of mean to me, but he'd smile everyone. At least I thought he was. Parents are stern with their kids because you have got to learn this lesson. So parents are always very serious with their kids. Understand what I'm trying to tell you. But with everyone else, they aren't trying to teach them anything. So they smile. Hey, how you doing, friend? I was happy to see you. And, go up there and get yourself a watermelon. They say, hey, how much are they? Well, that one's there, $5. All right. How much you have? I have $3. Sold. Stuff like that, You take everybody's money. All you have is $3. Today, the melon is $3. And so I learned how to market stuff. So as a result, I keep a market at my farm. I market my dates. People come in, sometime they want to haggle me. I know a lot of Middle Eastern people come through, and every now and then you get some people, they want to haggle, My wife, she doesn't play that game at all. So she's quick to hand them off to me. So, well, you have to talk to Sam. And so they act tough, and they call me up there. And I fall back to them, to the lessons I learned from my father. And we get the haggling back and forth on the price. And sometime I'll give them a break. Sometime I don't. But most of the time I do, especially if I have a lot of dates. I think about what my father told me. I said, We're moving beyond the middle of the selling season, and I still have dates in storage. Tell you what, dude, don't tell anyone I did this for you, but I'll take what your price is. No. Yeah. But next time, I'm charging you full price. Oh, yeah. And I'm going to send you customers. Don't send me customers who are going to come in and ask for a discount. Send me paying customers.
Okay, so tell me the story when you tried to grow watermelon. Why did you want to grow watermelon, and what prompted that?
I grew my first watermelons in 1977, 76, 77, in my garden at home. And I just wanted, because my dad was growing watermelons back in Mississippi. Actually, my parents moved from Mississippi in 1948, 75 years ago. By 1968, after being in California 20 years, my parents separated. So 10 years later or so, in 77, I was back in Mississippi visiting my dad, who was growing watermelons. And we came back to California and started planting some out in the garden. And we had the same problem as I have at this farm. Immediately, the squirrels and everything started eating the melons as soon as they were in the crook coming out. Such a tender, luscious piece of salad or vegetation. They would take the tops right off. So, but eventually we got some going, and I just wanted the experience of growing the melon to see how it developed. And man, it was pretty nice, but I didn't add enough water and the melons wound up small. And then within 5 years, I took a step back and said, wait, the guys in the watermelon fields have these big rows. So I made large rows, and I put my water hose out there and let the water run really slow and soak up those rows, and added some fertilizer. Everything changed. I started getting these large melons, and they were tasting good. And I found out that if you have a large watermelon and it tastes good and you're trying to sell it, people will become your friend. I made lots of friends with watermelons. Everyone likes a good melon, including me. And, I'm not a champion watermelon grower. I tried to get good at it. I grew watermelons and cassava melons in the early 80s, like 1983. And then everything fell apart by 86. My wife and I, we went bankrupt, lost everything.
How?
How did we go bankrupt?
Yeah, what happened with the watermelons? Why didn't it work out?
Well, watermelons didn't necessarily help me go bankrupt. It was just in the mix when I went bankrupt. We were growing cassava melons and all that. It's just, I'm just overwhelmed at trying to farm. Farming is tough. You have to have a serious plan, and more than anything, a serious financial plan. And you need to have both a short-range plan and a long-range plan. And you have to work both plans, short range and long range. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, they'll try to get into farming when they're the age I am, 60 years old. I'm 61 right now. And a lot of people decide, all right, I'm finally finished with my job, I'm retired, I'm gonna start farming. You can work the short range plan, but I don't know if they have time to work the long range plan. The long range plan needs to be 10, 20, or 30 years. And if you're 60, 30 years from now, you're gonna be 90. If you make it to 90, 20 years from now, I'll be 81. Can you believe that? So I'm doing all I can to be in as much media, writing books, get as much publications, get my name down in history so that my children and grandchildren will be able to look up Sam Cobb. My real name is Samuel David Cobb, Samuel D. Cobb, but I just go by Sam. They'll be able to find me and read about all of my exploits, how I started farming from scratch, from nothing, and I made it. I never, ever gave up on my dream. I continued forth until I persevered. Took a lot of blood, sweat, tears, money, and faith in God. I used to pray all the time, dear Lord, establish me. Establish me. That was my prayer. Lord, establish me. Lord, establish. I prayed that prayer for 7 years. Lord, establish me. I just want to be established in agriculture. I want people to be able to know the name of Sam Cobb. Establish me. In order for me to be established, I knew some major things had to happen in my life. I need to have equipment. I need to have land. I need to grow the best crops. And when my name comes up, I want a smile to come to people's face. Oh, Sam Cobb, huh? That's the good stuff. That's right, Sam Cobb. Because as James Brown said, I paid the cost to be the boss. I paid a tremendous cost. My wife stayed with me. That's one of the biggest things. My wife stayed with me. I got a wife, and she never left me. It got shaky a little bit, just a little bit. My wife was committed to the journey. It got tough during bankruptcy, and I prayed to her, please don't leave me. Just don't leave me. If you don't leave me, we will make it. So she held with me, and I went and got me a regular job working for the USDA. I sold my skills to the American public. I was one of the best agriculturally, technically sound agriculturalists, conservationists on the whole California USDA staff. My technical knowledge was solid, and no one ever argued with what I knew when it comes to plant science. And I worked with my people out in Blythe. I got stuck in what they would call the remote place. If you mess up, they would send you to Blythe. So I guess I messed up. I got sent to Blythe. I came here to Blythe. These people were so happy to have me. They said, Sam, you understand what we're doing. You speak farmer. I said, you're doggone right. I'm a real farmer. We got along great. I worked in the office here in Blythe for 12 years and retired out of this office. When I retired, they tipped their hat to me and said, Sam, you are the best government employee we have ever had in this office. I said, really? You're the best. You understood what we're doing, where we're coming from, and we appreciated that. Meaning what they meant was when we would ask them to do conservation work, I knew some of the things that the government would require them to do would wind up costing them a lot of money just to be able to qualify for the grant that they were trying to get. And I would speak up for them and say, that's unreasonable. Or if you go down that road, they're going to request to cancel this contract after such and such time because it's going to cost them too much money. We sometimes write contracts for 5, 6, 7 years. I'd say that's too long a contract. 2, 3 years maximum. It's about as far as you could see short range. In a few years, if things are not going good for 2 years, you are changing course. And if it means canceling that USDA contract, sayonara, they will cancel us. And conservation will not get put on the ground. But I hope I answered that watermelon question. Why watermelons?
Yeah.
My dad loved them. I love them. And watermelons rock, as they say.
So what was the key to keeping your wife?
Ooh, what was the key to keeping my wife? Keeping her happy. Happy wife, happy life.
Was it hard for you to take that job?
Take the USDA job? It was hard for me. She was happy that I did. We actually got out a piece of paper and we weighed all the benefits of me working in private sector, all the benefits of me working for the USDA. And private sector at the time was pretty light. and unpredictable. How we had gone through the unpredictability of farming and money yes, money no. I had not fully learned how to make money in agriculture. So USDA looked pretty good. They offered me, I only had to work 8 hours a day, and then you can go home when there's still plenty of daylight. So I was able to participate in my kids' sports. I had weekends off, had holidays off, had sick leave, vacation leave. Holy moly. Retirement pension, thrift savings account. I can save more money for my retirement. They matched part of the money that I put into my thrift savings. I said, shucks, I think I'm kind of crazy for not taking this. I'll tell you what we'll do. We will put our farming dreams on hold, and we will go and work for the USDA for 30 years and save our money like mad men and women. And that's what we did. We went to work for the USDA, let them match our money, grew this big pot of money, and at the end, we drew down that pot of money, paid off all of our bills, bought land, stuff that we had bought. Along the way, we were buying land and equipment, tractors, machinery, tools, all this stuff to get ready for farming. And then when we retired, we invested a little bit more into the farm. We paid off all of our bills, and then we started farming full time. And the farm, we had to support the farm for the first almost 20 years. And now finally, after 20 years, 21 years, the farm is flipping over. I remember doing all the numbers, calculating everything, and I told my wife, it will take us 21 years for this to happen. We planted the first tree in 2003. I ran all the numbers, and I said, it will be 2024 before things really take off. This is 2023. Next year is 2024. Everything is falling in place as planned. And once we take off, take a good look at me now, because we're about to engage into light speed. People who are close to me in agriculture, I'm about to leave them in the dust. There's about to be a giant, I'm about to move so far ahead of everyone. It's going to be amazing. But hey, I know how to look back. I know where I will not forget where I came from. But things are about to get really good, and we're about to move to it another level.
So did God answer your prayer?
God answered my prayer. I am established. I am the real Sam Cobb. I paid the cost to be the boss. Welcome to Sam Cobb Farms. Hopefully you're enjoying the view of our dates on our trees. Man, it's kind of hard to believe I'm here, but I'm here. We're on our way. We knew that if and when we got established, no one would be able to just come up and try to match us overnight. You can't match us overnight. We have you beat by a generation. So get started and don't stop. If you don't stop, if you faint not, you will get to where I am.
That's perfect. And what do you think would be the difference if there were more farmers like you, more black farmers?
I tell you, there would be more black farmers who are actually making it. But it's tough. The reason why there aren't more black farmers, I have figured it out. The reason why there aren't more black farmers is more black people have not prepared to farm. It's just simple as that. We didn't teach our kids to go study agriculture. When I was coming through high school, I was the only black kid in the Future Farmers of America. I was the only black kid in all of my agriculture classes. And then by the time I was a senior, a couple of brave freshmen decided that they would sign up for agriculture. I said, look at there, these young men, so happy to see you here. But I'm going where I'm going. And I think there was one ahead of me. who got out of school before I started. But even he did not achieve the agricultural heights that I've achieved. I was serious, man. I was serious about agriculture and farming. In that a lot of people talk about we need to have land. We need to have land. Yeah, you need to have land. And you have to make plans for land. Well, there aren't more black farmers because black people in general did not study agriculture. And you can't blame them at all. My dad left the South, working in agriculture. His dad was a farmer and he was a farmer. They were on the same farm together. They were a little too close, so my dad had to separate. So he moved 20 miles away. And then eventually he got pulled over by a policeman for having white wall tires instead of black wall tires. That was a straw that broke the camel's back. He loaded up his family and he left the South and he came to California with his pickup truck with the white wall tires. He moved to Fresno, and that sent us on a completely different trajectory. No cousins or anything in California, just our family. We knew people, but all our family was in the South. So I had no cousins. All my friends had cousins. Cousin? How's your cousins? I have no cousins. What's a cousin? Oh, that's like your brother's kids or your sister's kids. Oh, no. That's your mother's kids or your dad's kids. Those are your cousins. Oh, they were all in Mississippi. We went to Mississippi to visit. Cousins everywhere. This is your cousin. This is your cousin. This is your cousin. I was blown away. We went to a church service. We were related to every single person in the church, including the minister. This is wild. That was something else. So, but my dad left the South, and he did not come to. Came to California and started working on a farm for 2 or 3 years, and he learned California agriculture, irrigation agriculture, production agriculture. He learned how real Class A farming operations should be, and he wanted to be that. He wanted that in Mississippi, but as luck would have it, in the early 50s, the mid 50s, they started building the highways, the interstate systems, and all these government projects. So he got into construction, and it was a little bit more better for our family. So he left farming, so to speak. He left farm work. He was never a farmer. You have to go to school to study to be a farmer. A lot of African Americans never go to school to study to be farmers. They just want to go right into farming. And unfortunately, if you go right into farming, it won't be long before you're right out of farming. So that's what happened to me in the early 80s when we went bankrupt. So, but I had gone to school. I had seen the background, so I prayed, oh God, what did I go wrong? I found out I need to market my own stuff. That's another trail. But as far as blacks in agriculture, there aren't too many in agriculture because there aren't too many that studied agriculture. There are not very many agricultural agronomists that are farming. There are some agronomists, and some of them gone and took it to the next level and even the top level. There are PhDs that are agronomists. They went the route of George Washington Carver. I guess I went the route of Booker T. Washington. Get your hands on it and make it happen. And so.
Who were your role models growing up?
George Washington Carver, because he was a science guy. And my other role models, believe it or not, were just little simple people. The guy who drove the tractor, Willie Brewer, an uneducated man born in 1919. I know that because he used to always say it. I was born in 1919. Willie Brewer was uneducated. He was a tractor driver. and he took care of this guy's farm. And he was driving the tractor that I rode on the fender with Willie Brewer for 8 or 10 years and learned how to farm. And then eventually I'd ride on the fender with the guy who owned the farm. And eventually I asked the guy who owned the farm, how do I become a farmer like you? And he gave me the recipe. Sam, when you get to high school, join the Future Farmers of America and study agriculture. When you get to college, go get degrees in agriculture.
So it was Willie Brewer that gave you the path.
Willie Brewer gave me the path. He drove the tractor. And then the guy he's worked for was, like I say, he was a first-class farmer. He drove brand new tractors while other people driving 3-wheel red tricycle tractors. This guy had a John Deere 4020, lots of power steering, power brakes, several gears, comfortable seat. Oh man, I want to drive that tractor with Willie Brewer. So eventually I went over there and I'm going to be getting my own John Deere, my brand new John Deere. My wife and I were working to cross the I's and dot the T's, and we're going to get a Generation 4 of John Deere.
Awesome. And I want to bring this up because of course you know the history of exploitation that's taken place with African Americans and government taking our land and that kind of oppression, right? But you worked for the USDA as well. What are your thoughts on the government's history and the government's present?
Well, I know they've had some trouble with like the Pickford situation, and I remember in 1984, 1985, someone approached me in Fresno and saying, "We're getting a lawsuit together. Have you been discriminated against? Has the USDA bothered you?" And I said, "No, haven't bothered me. What kind of discrimination? You know, you go apply for loans and they don't give you loans." I said, "Well, no, I applied for some money. They gave me money." Okay. Right on. Well, he took some notes and he moved on. But then, you know, I think I got a loan from the USDA in 1983 or 84. Nah, it was about 1985. I borrowed $17,000 from the Farmers Home Administration to help me get started in farming. And honestly, they probably should not have loaned me the money. Farming went bad in '86, and I was not able to pay the money back. My wife and I, we filed bankruptcy. And what happened was the USDA people were there at bankruptcy court. They were the only people who showed up. All the creditors, they were the only ones who showed up. And the lawyer, they got everything charged off. And the USDA, they said, "You would not have to pay anything back." I said, "Really?" I said, "Well, okay, thanks." But I thought that was the end of the story. It was not. So that was '84. And fast forward about 15 years later, I'm working for the USDA, and I found out they have all these programs and everything going on. I said, you know, I'm going to go over to the farmer's home and see if I can borrow some money, get started in farming again. And I apply, and then the $17,000 show up. They say, "You owe $17,000. I said, "Huh? I thought that was charged off." Well, actually, it's just sitting here on the books. It doesn't say you owe anything, but we can't pay anything. They say you have a loan, and it's blocking everything. You can't go anywhere. I can't move through the computer. I said, "You're kidding me." I said, "No." So, okay. Tell you what, I'm the real Sam Cobb. Don't worry about it. Forget it. So a few years went by. I went back in 5 years and applied for something else. Some other great thing came up. They had a thing called a micro loan. You can borrow $35,000 and they'll just help you get started. $35,000 kind of get you out the door, get started. I That sounds pretty good. So I want to try to get a micro loan. That $17,000 came up again. You don't have to pay it back, but it's just here. It's just blocking us. We can't go any further. We can't approve any loans. We can't do anything for you, man. It just locked everything up. And so then I say, holy moly, that's the discrimination they're talking. They never charged off that loan, and it locked me from ever borrowing from them again. So, believe it or not, the $17,000 is still on the books. They had that, $4 billion where they're going to pay off African American loans. So I checked with the Farmers Home or USDA people. Hey, I hear they're going to be paying off African American farmers. I don't know how it's going to happen, and I know you don't either, because I know how you guys work. I used to work here with me. I know you don't know anything, but tell you what, when you find something out, when something comes up, will you do me a favor? Remember that I'm out here and that I'd like to get this thing charged off. I never heard a thing from them. And then, of course, it went to court and everything. And so we still owe $17,000. But like I say, things are getting ready to happen for us. We're going to go and we're going to pay that $17,000 off and clear our name after 40 years. And it's going to be cleared. They haven't charged us interest, but we're going to clear our name. And that's our plan. And we're going to move on with our life. And we have great things going. We plan on building a processing plant, processing our own dates. And there's only minimal amount of dates that I can sell right now in my little roadside stand. But once I become a true processor with all the certificates and all the background stuff, then we can sell to Costco, to Vons, to Safeway, to Ralph's, to Albertson, to Whole Foods, to everyone like that. And not only that, we become the people in charge of the dates, and we will buy dates from other people. That's when I really will be Mr. Cobb.